Well, thankfully off the back of suffering our first defeats in a few months during the course of yesterday's episode, we have got back on track against two teams down the bottom of the Free Liga table, and coming up today, it's a top of the table clash against Heidenheim, and then we take on the Bayern seconds. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 24 of the Leipzig Loko with Lokomotive Leipzig here on Sean Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and as I said during the intro, coming up today, top of the table clash first up as we do take on Heidenheim, and off the back of taking on Duisburg off camera, we'll come back and take on the Bayern Munich second 11. So if you're looking forward to those two games in today's episode, the last one before we do enter the winter break, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but we've played two games off the back of those defeats that we did suffer in yesterday's episode. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Our first defeat in quite a while in the league, as we did lose 1-0 away to Ingolstadt, and then during the second half in the second round of the DFB Pokal, Stuttgart from the Bundesliga did show their superior quality and in the end gave us a 6-1 thrashing. After that one was locked up at 1-1 at half-time. Off the back of that, we did take on a team bottom of the table in the Kiel second 11. This one was a bit closer than you might anticipate, but thankfully Osman Tilgen did give us a 1-0 win with a goal late in the first half, and off the back of that, we took on Elversberg away from home. These guys also in the bottom half of the table. This was a much better performance, so really convincing one, our first one of those in a little while. A 3-0 win, first half goals through Mark Lamptey, Micah Wosu, as well as Jamal Ziani. And because of that, as you saw before, seeing as it is first second coming up, we are the team these days on top of the table, but it is getting quite crowded in particular between those top four teams, albeit with the Schalke seconds not being eligible for promotion. If we can continue to pick up some points during the course of today's episode, hopefully we should be able to keep ourselves right in the hunt for promotion up to the 2 Bundesliga this season, unlike last season, and we just did fade away a little bit in the second half of the year. But things going pretty well here at Lokomotive Leipzig, despite what did happen during the course of yesterday's episode, and of course the finances were also helped out quite a bit by that short run in the DFB Pokal. Some more good news going into today's episode. These days, not that many injuries. We had quite a few over the course of the last few so far this week. We have picked up quite a few, but thankfully these days, just Kevin Zizek, who is suffering an injury. He is only out for 7 more days to 2 weeks, might even be available for that second game of today's episode against the Bayern Munich seconds, but thankfully Kevin Zizek is not too far away from coming back into the fold, so hopefully that will help us a little bit more. But still, Jamal Ziani doing a decent enough job for us up front at the moment, so he might have to work his way back into the team, as he no doubt will be steadily gaining fitness once he does return from that broken ankle, which has kept him out for most of the season so far. But apart from that, everyone else is available during the course of today's episode for the first game at least. And first up, it is a top of the table clash as we do take on Heidenheim. These guys were predicted to be finishing top of the league. They got relegated from the 2 Bundesliga last season, so looking to go straight back up, and so far doing a pretty good job of it, albeit did just suffer a defeat in their most recent outing at home against SV Meppen. So that was a bit of a surprising one, so hopefully we can make the most of that and kick them while they're down and extend our gap on top of the Free Liga. And we'll come back off the back of that game we played in between the two that we're going to show you in today's episode against Duisburg, and then we'll preview that one where we do take on the Bayern Munich seconds. That could be an interesting affair, no doubt. Some very promising players we are going to be taking on in that game, and hopefully, as I said, Kevin Zizek might be able to return from the bench potentially in that game, but hopefully we can pick up a win here, and as I said, just grab a little bit of a gap on top of the Free Liga table. Otherwise, we might be slipping down potentially into that promotion playoff spot, and that's something ideally we would be looking to avoid, but we'll come back shortly and hopefully pick up a win at home in this top of the table clash as we take on Heidenheim. And here are the team sheets for this first game of today's episode. Obviously, with that lack of injuries these days, just one change to our usual best 11, and that is Ziani up front with Zizek still injured. But apart from that, we are pretty good going into this one, so hopefully we can continue that good run of form off the course of yesterday's episode of Heidenheim there with a 4-2-3-1, and at home, hopefully we can extend our gap on top of the Free Liga. And just shy of the 5-minute mark, the first highlight in this game is a corner in our favour. Micah Wosu will look to put this one far post. Looks for Heinke, doesn't quite pick him out, but thankfully Tilgen was there to tidy things up. Robs the ball there from one of the Heidenheim players. Really good individual goal that from our left winger in Osman Tilgen. And that is a dream start here in this top of the table clash. Didn't quite get anything going from the corner, but Tilgen does pretty well here to control the ball, then takes it off of the defender who tried to get it off him, and nice finish there just inside that far post, and that is a good start there. Our winger, of course, used to be a striker. We converted him right at the start of this save to a left winger. Does put us 1-0 up, albeit a highlight immediately from the restart here, so hopefully we don't concede an equaliser straight away, but so far looking pretty sharp in this one, which is nice because, as I said, we look quite good in that previous game, that 3-0 win over Elversberg, and now we try and go forward here through Ricardo Grimm, but unfortunately a little bit sloppy on the ball, and one of the strikers there does get in behind for Heidenheim, and Christian Kohlwetter beats Harsman in goal. Bit of a weak effort there from our goalkeeper, I think it is fair to say, and unfortunately we do indeed concede right off the back of grabbing the opening goal in this one. Nice through ball there, and Kohlwetter does somehow get that one straight through Harsman, and that makes it 1-1 after only 6 minutes. And just shy of the half-hour mark, we get the next highlight in this game. Heidenheim here with a throw-in inside of the final third. Bocky tries to put that one into the mix. We try and deal with it, but don't. It's a bit of a weak shot that from Christian Kohlwetter, but yet again find its way into the back of the net, and Heidenheim have come from behind here to grab a 2-1 lead, albeit they did grab an equaliser nice and early. It felt like we had dealt with the danger here through this header through Search, but unfortunately Beck wins it, and Kohlwetter just gets on the wrong side of the defender and slots that one away. He grabs a double and makes it 2-1 Heidenheim. And with only a few minutes left in the first half, really good spot here for a free kick, which Micah Wosu will take. Hopefully can find that right corner. He drives it low. The goalkeeper doesn't even move. Micah Wosu, 6th goal of the season. This one so far is an entertaining one, and we grab an equaliser right before halftime. As I said, really good spot that for a free kick. The goalkeeper probably not positioned that well, but thankfully Micah Wosu did make the most of it. 2-2, but right before halftime, there is a big injury.
Yeah.
As our first choice striker, Jamal Ziani, is going to be forced from the field because of that Shimp the Shrimp can come on for him. So hopefully Kevin Zizek isn't as far away as I was thinking earlier, because that could make things very interesting if both he and Ziani are out for these next couple of games, including that one against Bayern Munich. But thankfully, just before half-time, we do grab an equaliser to make it 2-2. And in fact, that's not it for the first half. There is one more highlight here as we have 3 minutes of added time. No doubt that might be extended just a little bit because of that injury to Ziani, but Harsman pumps that one deep. Weigl tries to get it back for us, but unfortunately can't quite. Nice ball there through to Pick, who is 1-on-1 with Harsman, gets beaten on his near post. So far, it's been a pretty average first half, I think it's fair to say, for our new first choice goalkeeper. And we are indeed going into the sheds 3-2 down. It looked like for a minute there we might have been able to get this back to all level with that free kick to Owosu, but then an injury and a good counter-attacking goal there from Heidenheim through Pick, and it looks like they will go into half-time, and indeed they do, with a 3-2 lead. Lucas Search as well, back from injury of course recently, a lower back stress fracture. He is only going okay out there on a 6.3, but overall this has been quite an even game, but unfortunately we do find ourselves 3-2 behind, and also of course suffered that injury to Ziani. Hopefully that doesn't prove too much of a difference maker, not just in this game, but over the course of the next little while as well. Daniela Hindu can come on for Lucas Search at half-time, but otherwise I think we'll leave the rest of our subs for the remainder of the second half, and hopefully can at least grab an equaliser as we are 3-2 behind. And in fact, we have a highlight here immediately from the restart. So it's Julian Weigl here on the ball as we try and get it back to our defenders. A Hindu on for Lucas Search, who did struggle in that first half. Ernesto gets cut down by the player on a hat-trick. Christian Kohlwetter will get a straight red card, and now surely we can at least grab an equaliser in this one, playing against 10 men with 40 minutes left. And only a few minutes off the back of that red card, the first highlight since then is a free kick to Heidenheim, but hopefully now we can start to really get on the front foot. So far, this has been quite an even game, as you did see at halftime, but now with that extra man, you'd like to think we can pick up at least 1 point, hopefully even 3 from this game, which so far has been a very entertaining one. Just taking us a little while here to get going out from the back. Eagle Zeta plays that one back to a Hindu, tries to play a ball over the top there for Shrimp, but he doesn't quite commit there, does the Shrimp. And now it is Heidenheim who try and put a ball in behind. Somehow Beck does control that, gets a shot off, a little bit weak, but it did actually test Harsman there briefly. Thankfully just goes wide, and still 3-2 to Heidenheim. And just past the hour mark, we are getting another highlight in this game. Julian Weigel has just picked up a yellow card, so might be coming off shortly, but a Tilgen there does win the ball for us, and hopefully we can now do something against the 10 men of Heidenheim, albeit takes the shot there from a tight angle, which probably wasn't a great option, truth be told. So still, we are 3-2 behind, but hopefully can continue to get on the front foot. In fact, 2 players now on yellow cards. They can both come off. Ogbidi at right wing and Lehmann for Julian Weigel, as we still search for an equaliser against 10 men with 25 minutes left. And pretty much immediately off the back of those substitutions, as well as going on to an attacking mindset here against the 10 men, there's a free kick for Heidenheim. Thankfully, a Hindu here does kind of block the run there from the attacker and clear our lines, albeit we just gift that one straight back to Heidenheim. So far, a little bit frustrating how we have been unable to keep the ball as much as we would want, albeit a Tilgen now with a great chance on the counter-attack, but unfortunately, a little bit of a loose touch there from our left winger, and Heidenheim here will get a chance to clear their lines and start somehow in a lot of space there down that right-hand side, albeit thankfully Zimmer does tidy things up for us, and now a Tilgen will get another chance, just takes his time here. Nice 1-2 there between him and Linus Zimmer. Zimmer back on the ball, plays that one back to Heinke. Now Ricardo Grimm from a long way out, that one just goes over the crossbar. So we are still 3-2 behind with only 20 minutes left. And shortly off the back of that highlight, just checking on some player fitness, and Leon Heinke is down to a red hearts, playing pretty well. But with that in mind, we'll use our fresh legs here against 10 men. Piplica can come on for him as we still search for an equaliser. And again, almost immediately off the back of that substitution, not even sure if it's actually gone through yet, but we did have the ball there briefly, but unfortunately do give it away to Heidenheim. So that's been pretty frustrating so far. Since they have gone down to 10 men, we have been struggling to keep hold of the ball. They do get in behind. Pick there, gets a shot off. Florian Pick will score against us, and Heidenheim have now doubled their lead with 10 men, and that is really frustrating. That is pretty bad from us. We shouldn't be allowing that. But they've been somehow still finding some space in behind us down these wings. Nice ball there towards the far post, and Pick, with a bit of help from the inside of the post, just sneaks that one over the line. And we might be losing here against 10 men 4-2 with only 15 minutes left. And only a couple of minutes off the back of that fourth goal to Heidenheim. Now we have the ball here and hopefully can at least grab one back to make this interesting in these last 10 minutes. And good ball here for Schimpf, but unfortunately his shot comes off the bottom of the post so far. Does feel like Lux, but against us in this one, albeit we should be good enough to deal with that, only playing against 10 men, but we are still 2 goals down as we enter the last 10 minutes. And we are just entering the last couple of minutes of this game, and it does look like, unfortunately, nothing that we're going to try here in terms of our mentality is going to help us grab a goal back in this game. And of course, that goal that we conceded when they were down to 10 men is a real kick in the teeth, and we suffer a 4-2 defeat there at home to Heidenheim. Most of the second half, of course, they were down to 10 men. That is a really frustrating one, and unfortunately as well, of course, picked up that injury late in the first half as well to Jamal Ziani, so that could come at a cost, but it also means we are no longer going to be on top of the free league. We'll tell the guys really not happy with that performance. I think it's justified, even though some of them, in particular the defenders, who did a pretty terrible job, are picking a bit of a sad, but as you can see, that does mean we do drop down to second on the table. Thankfully, Ingolstadt did not pick up a win, so still in one of those automatic promotion spots. We'll just go over to the inbox now and check on this injury to Jamal Ziani. Pulled ankle ligaments out for 2 to 3 weeks, so it does mean for this next game at least, we are going to be a little bit weak in that striker spot, albeit I suppose it could have been worse, but that is a poor start to today's episode. We suffer a 4-2 defeat in the top of the table clash. We'll come back shortly and show you guys some highlights from the Duisburg game before we take on the Bayern Munich seconds. And here are the highlights from that game that we did play before we took on the Bayern Munich seconds. It was a bit funny in this game. We actually started Osman Atilgan up front because we could start Bülent out on the left wing. And of course, Atilgan, as I said during that first game today, was a striker before we did come to the club, and thankfully gets us a goal there late in the first half, and that was the difference maker as we do get back on track with a 1-0 win away from home. As you can tell, pretty even game, but thankfully our XG just a little bit higher, and Osman Atilgan did make the most of that chance. What that does going into the second game of today's episode, we are still in second spot, now 3 points behind Heidenheim and 3 points clear of both Ingolstadt and the Schalke seconds, albeit they have already played their game on this match day. But hopefully we can continue to pick up the points, even though this could be a tricky one, taking on the Bayern Munich second 11. But before we do look at those guys, we have had our youth intake preview for this season here at Lokomotive Leipzig. It's predicted to be a good one, albeit, as you can tell by that preview, there are not a lot of areas there with good ratings. Not too sure how accurate that will be, and so far we've been told the youth intakes would be excellent, so it could actually be one of the poorer ones that we have had so far. Maybe the best players will come in the areas of goalkeeper and up front, but not hoping for too much from that youth intake, considering what we have got so far, and the fact this one does look like it is going to be a worse one. But coming up next, we take on a team which could be a very interesting prospect for us, even though they are down in 11th on the table. The Bayern Munich seconds, as you can see, in recent Friedliga games, they have actually struggled a little bit with losses against Victoria Cologne as well as SV Meppen. So based on that, you'd like to think this is a game at home that we can be winning. But having a look at their last known lineup and some of the players here who will be in behind my head, but they've got some really promising players in this team, in particular up front, Ibrahimovic as well as Matthias Tal. If we give those sort of players too much space, this could end up being a tough day at the office. In terms of injuries as well, going into this game, unfortunately did pick up one more since we did play that first game of today's episode. Ziani is only out for 1 to 2 more days, but thankfully Kevin Zizek is back and can play 45 minutes today, so it does mean he will sit on the bench for us. But yet again, Linus Zimmer has picked up an injury. It probably means he is gone until we do come back from the winter break. In tomorrow's episode, a damaged kneecap, out for 10 days to 3 weeks. So Eric Vufag will be our first choice left back for this game. And also, as you saw previously, Osman Atilgan will go up front and Bülent out on the left wing. I do think it's just a bit of a stronger lineup than if we put in Schimpf in place of Ziani. I think Bülent, slightly better player, so we're going to try that for the second game, and hopefully we can keep the pressure on Heidenheim on top of the table and pick up 3 points against the Bayern Munich seconds. And here indeed are the confirmed team sheets for the second game of today's episode. You saw us before, a few changes there, of course, due to that injury to Ziani as well as Zimmer at left back. Here are the FC Bayern seconds. They look pretty similar as well to what we did see before on that club info page, but they are just being so far this season. So hopefully we can make the most of that and keep the pressure on Heidenheim off the back of that previous loss to them. And just over 20 minutes into this game, the first highlight here is a corner to Bayern Munich. Thankfully, Atilgan does clear that one, but Matthias Tal is there to tidy things up. So far, a quiet game. 2 shots to both teams, but none on target. Lean here puts the ball far post. Matthias Tal will put that away, but surely he was offside. But in fact, he wasn't. So Bayern Munich seconds do open the scoring. I was sure that goal was going to get ruled out for offside. Just looked too open there at the far post. They found some space there down that left-hand side and put a nice ball there. And Matthias Tal does put that one away. Vufag looks like he may have not picked him up. Here will be the telling angle, or at least lines. And indeed, he was actually onside by a fair bit there. So a poor start. And we do go 1-0 down, albeit just like the first game today. We are shown a highlight immediately off the back of that. So hopefully can get back to all square here, much like Heidenheim did in that previous game, albeit so far the FC Bayern seconds are holding the ball quite well, and they keep it here down this left-hand side, of course, where they did cause us a bit of trouble finding space for that previous goal. Try and play ball over the top there, but thankfully this time we do deal with it. Now Vufag starts to cut inside, poor pass there looking for Ricardo Grimm, so a rough start there for our left back. Matthias Tal gets a shot off, but thankfully that one goes over the bar, but a pretty rough start. 1-0 down about halfway through the first half. And only a few minutes off the back of that early flurry of highlights there to Bayern Munich, we do get down the other end. It's a free kick and Micah Wosu picks out Leon Heinke at the far post, and thankfully we weren't behind for too long. The big tall defensive midfielder there at the far post does get up Ernesto there. Does look like he caused a bit of a nuisance and took the attention there off our big man, and from a set piece we make it 1-1 with 10 minutes left in the first half. And just entering the last couple of minutes of this first half, now we go down the other end, this time for a free kick to Bayern Munich that somehow falls to a centre-back in Liam Morrison, and he will score his first goal of the season. Was left far too open there inside the box, and just like that, this is very reminiscent of that first game in today's episode. That makes it 2-1 to Bayern Munich. Really good finish there from a centre-back, and now we're a goal behind a few minutes shy of half-time. And yet again, we get a late highlight here in this first half. Yet again, a free kick in our favour. And Leon Heinke gets his head on the end of that one. Yet again, you'd expect the Schenk to make a save because it was pretty much straight at him. But thankfully, this time, their goalkeeper has a bit of a shocker. And it looks like we're going to go into the sheds here locked up at 2-2. Good, powerful header there from our defensive midfielder. And so far, he is keeping us in this game. There's a lot of players for us out there on some pretty average ratings. But thankfully, in what's been a fairly even game, we do go into the sheds still with parity locked up at 2-2. Both our left winger and striker out there are on a 6.4, and of course those are good options on left wing as well. So it might be time for us to introduce Kevin Zizek back from injury in the second half of this game. And I think, based on the quality of those two players on those poor ratings, we'll probably take off Bulland, of course, with Atilgan having been one of our better players for this save so far. I think it's fair to say, so we'll make that change at halftime, and hopefully Kevin Zizek can come back in style and we can kick on and grab a win here, locked up at 2-2 against the Bayern Munich seconds. And only a couple of minutes into the second half, we do have a free kick here looking yet again for Leon Heinke at that far post, but unfortunately this time Bayern Munich do deal with it, and Ibrahimovic there does get a chance to do something on the counter-attack, but thankfully Ricardo Grimm does track back and win that ball back for us. Now Julian Weigl will hopefully get us back on the front foot, but so far it's been set pieces that have been doing it for us in this game. Now Kevin Zizek looks like his first touch since back from injury. Now Wosu, nice ball there inside the box, and Osman Atilgan back out on the left wing will cut inside, run onto that one, quite similar to the finish we saw from Morrison for Bayern in the first half, and we grab the lead for the first time in this one, 3-2 nice and early in the second half, and hopefully now we can pick up 3 points, that one from near enough to the penalty spot right in that top left corner, and we go 3-2 in front. And just past the hour mark, we are going to make another change at this time. A few players out there only going okay, and in particular Eric Vufak on a 6.5 with that injury to Zimmer. Our left back cover now is Zach Paulo Piplica, usually the backup in defensive midfield to Leon Heinke, but hopefully he can do a decent job out there for us in this last half hour, still with that 1-goal lead. And only a few minutes off the back of that most recent substitution, we do try and get on the front foot there, but unfortunately can't quite link up with Kevin Zizek up front, and Matthias Tell somehow gets in behind our defence far too easily, but thankfully that shot goes over the bar. Apparently it did skim it, and we are still 3-2 up with around about 20 minutes left. And just as we do into the last 20 minutes of this game, we are back down the other end here for a throw-in in our favour. Ernesto linking up there with Owosu, but then poor pass, albeit Julian Weigl does thankfully win that ball back for us here, and hopefully we can grab a cushion goal and put this game to bed. Now Ricardo Grimm will pick out Ernesto on that right-hand side, takes his time here and starts to go backwards, as does Ricardo Grimm. And now we go all the way back here to Haasman in goal. That's really poor though, and Matthias Tell will get a chance. Big tackle that, and then big save off the back of that shot from Klinik, but unfortunately it does fall back into the path of Matthias Tell, and it's a poor pass there from our goalkeeper, who today is having a bit of a shocker like Issa Dogan did a few episodes ago. We got so close to stopping that though from being a goal. Big tackle there from Lucas Search, and then a good save, but unfortunately it did fall to tell our defenders couldn't quite recover quite in time, and it's 3-3 just inside the last 20 minutes of this one. And only a couple of minutes off the back of that third goal to the Bayern seconds, we are now down the other end, albeit did just briefly lose out on possession, but good tackle there, and we try and get back on the front foot, but unfortunately Owosu and then Grimm can't win that ball for us in the air. Matthias Tell again is in behind our defence, and this time gets some help from the woodwork. His 15th goal of the season. He looks like he is absolutely tearing it up here in the Free Liga. He will pick up a hat-trick. Our defence just not dealing with him appropriately. And now we are 4-3 behind off the back of grabbing an early 3-2 lead. In the second half, things have changed quite considerably with only 10 minutes left. Hopefully, we can find a way to at least grab an equaliser from this game. Otherwise, some poor results here at home. Unfortunately, from the start of that next highlight, can't quite link up with Zeke up front. Can our goalkeeper, who is now on a very poor rating, try and play a ball in behind? Thankfully, Lucas Search there will win that one before Matthias Tell. And now Ricardo Grimm will try and get us here on the front foot, but really poor pass there, looking for Ziani, or Zizik I should say, and thankfully Piplica there with a good tackle on Matthias Tell. We try and play a ball over the top, but unfortunately Zizik, coming back from injury, still looks like he's a bit short of a gallop, and Bayern Munich here do get a chance to clear their lines and might even be looking for a cushion goal. They try and play a ball over the top. It's an absolute mess at the back. Big chance there for Matthias Tell to put it to bed, but thankfully misses the target. Was looking for a fourth goal, and it is still 4-3 to Bayern. And in fact, right off the back of that highlight, checking on some player fitness, and quite a few of our players are now down 2 red hearts. I do think it's time for us here to shake things up. First up, Lucas Search, only on a 6.5. Mark Lamptey can come on for him. Also, Ricardo Grimm, 6.6. We'll bring on Tim Lehmann. And of the rest of them, to be fair, I think our defence is looking a bit shaky today. Both goalkeeper and our centre-back. So Daniel Hindu probably has a bit more pace than the rest of our centre-back options who both started and were on the bench, so he can come on for Eagles-Eder. And hopefully that will shore up the back just enough so we can hopefully grab a goal back and make it a 4-all draw. And right off the back of me chucking a few more players on attacking duty, we do have a highlight here with only a couple of minutes left, and Owosu does quite well there to get that ball in the air, but unfortunately not too long off the back of that. We do give it back to the Bayern Munich seconds, but hopefully we can at least create one more chance here to grab a point from this game. And Matthias Tell, yet again, does get in behind, has really made the most so far in this game of some poor defensive work, both from our defenders as well as our goalkeeper. Now, Lehmann does quite well there, though, to head that one away to Mike Owosu or Tilgan. He'll find Kevin Zek back here to Weigl. Good short passing as we try and link up, but just as I say that, can't quite find Kevin Zek. That ball a bit too deep for him. And Bayern look to get us yet again down this right-hand side. Thankfully this time Tell with a loose touch. Lovely back foot there from Tilgan. Now Lehmann out to Owosu, gets him behind, and he will put that one inside the far post. And with only 2 minutes left, this is another classic 4-all here. And right off the back of that, we will just drop some of these players onto a more support duty, as well as the fact, of course, we'll put our goalkeeper on defend, because that's probably something we should be doing off the back of this game, because unfortunately, Harsman has hit a bit of a shocker, and actually I think we'll leave our wingers on attack, because clearly that has worked. Lovely little flick there behind him from a Tilgan. We get it out to a Owosu. Nice ball there from Lehmann, and he just beats the goalkeeper here inside that far post, and hopefully, at the very least, we don't concede right off the back of this and can pick up a well-earned point from this game. There's going to be 5 minutes of added time. As you can tell by the stats, very even game, but Bayern's XG a lot higher than ours. But unfortunately, nothing else did happen in that game, but thankfully, we do still grab a point from it. But boy, that game was all over the place. Some really poor defensive reads there from our centre-backs as well as Harsman in goal. If he was a bit better, we might have got something more from that game. But thankfully, Mike Owosu's had an absolute blinder with 3 assists as well as that goal, which did grab us 1 point with a 4-all draw. But I do fear that result might mean that we do just slip a bit further behind the likes of Heidenheim and might even drop down to third if Ingolstadt can pick up a good result in their next match. But in the end, that's a pretty good point considering the way that that game did go. And indeed, that gap could close on us in second spot if Ingolstadt do pick up a win with their game in hand halfway through the season, though, in a good spot in second off the back of a very entertaining 4-all draw against the FC Bayern seconds. So 2 very entertaining games in today's episode. Unfortunately, couldn't beat the 10 men of Heidenheim in that first one, but thankfully found a way to grab an equaliser in that second game, 4-all against Bayern Munich. Matthias Tell causing us absolute nightmares as well as our goalkeeper. Off the back of that, I think a good thing to do here might be to change that sweeper keeper to a goalkeeper on defend. Also, Mike Owosu, off the back of a very good performance, is suspended for our next game, albeit that's one that you guys won't see. We'll catch you guys up on that one when we come back for tomorrow's episode off the back of the winter break, and also by then hopefully a few more of our players will be back from their injuries as well, and the likes of Ziani as well as Linus Zimmer. But a quick look at the Free League table off the back of the late kickoff on that Sunday the 8th of December, and as I feared, we are now only 1 point clear of Ingolstadt in second spots. With our form is not too great over these next few games, we could drop in to that promotion playoff spot, but at the moment still in a pretty good position, a decent gap back to the likes of Eintracht Braunschweig, because of course we don't really care too much about the Schalke seconds, seeing as they can't get promoted, but we are right in that hunt for promotion still halfway through the season. This time though, hopefully we have a better second half of the season compared to last year, and this time can at least give ourselves a chance of making our way up to the 2 Bundesliga, which I feel like we deserve the chance for off the back of that win in the first round of the DFB Pokal against Gluffer Firth, who were from that division. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Lots of goals in that one, with that 4-2 loss to Heidenheim and 4-4 draw with the Bayern seconds. If you enjoyed that episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. We'll come back tomorrow and get stuck into life off the back of the winter break. In between now and then, we take on RWSN and Wehen Westbaren. That was a team that we did lose to early on this season, and we'll come back, and it looks like we've got some fairly big games right off the back of that winter break. And we can also cover anything that does happen during the January transfer window in that episode as well. But 2 big home games, we take on the Schalke seconds. Not too worried about where they do end up on the league table, but hopefully we can still pick up the points when we do play them. And then off the back of taking on Bayloof off camera, I think we'll come back and take on Eintracht Braunschweig, who are down in 5th. So 2 teams who are chasing us in one of those promotion spots. At least hopefully we are still in one by then, and hopefully still in an automatic spot. And also, as I said, we'll cover any transfer business that might be happening during that January window. So until tomorrow for those 2 games and maybe a little bit of transfer business, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Thought I could do this, life through the sadness. Don't know how I ended up so lost.